Hello, everyone. How is everyone doing? Welcome to our brand new series called the Eñye Dream Accelerator Table Maker series, brought to you by Project Eñye. My name is Denise Soler Cox, and I have one of my favorite human beings on the planet on with me right now, Mrs. Rosalia Rivera. Hi, Rosalia.
Hello, how are you? You're one of my favorite people too. So.
Oh, that's sweet. So we have a little love fest going on here, and I'm just so excited to introduce Rosalia to you. I know many of you, and I feel like I'm trying to make my head as big as Rosalia's, but that means I can't lean in as much. So I'm going to do it from a little far away, which is a hard thing for me. So I always want to be like this close to everybody.
I can move closer.
Oh, there we go. Awesome. And so we're kind of messing with my lighting right now. There we go. So you might see some blinking. Don't worry, nobody panic. Everything is okay. So, all right. Well, the reason why, let me give you guys a little background before I introduce Rosalia on what in the world is this series, because I know that everybody here loves our Facebook Lives, and I love all the participation on them and also the recording. So if you're watching this on the recording, just if you have a comment, hashtag replay on your comments so we know that you watched as well. And I wanted to bring on some of the women that are in the Eñye Dream Accelerator, because it's really hard to explain exactly what it is, especially as close as I am to it. And so I decided, why don't we get some of these amazing women to come over here into our space here in the Project Eñye group and give them an opportunity to share what it is that they're doing, what was hard about starting that thing that they're doing, why they decided to join the Eñye Dream Accelerator, and answer any questions that you may have. And I don't know about you, but I'm kind of tired of these headlines that say that we're underrepresented in X field, in Y field, in Z field. Oh yeah, and there too. Oh, and that other place, hardly any Latinos are there too. And that conversation about making, having a seat at the table, personally, kind of tired of it. I'm about making my own table, and that's what we did here with Project Eñye, with our film, with our podcast, honestly, with everything we're doing, because there's some environments that are simply not designed to let us in. There are some places that are just not set up to have us participate. But fear not, there are some powerful women out there that are going to make their own tables. And that is what we do in the Eñye Dream Accelerator. And that is what Rosalia has done with her business called About Consent. So Rosalia, I'm going to give you a chance to add anything, but I am going to share a little bit about what you do. Rosalia teaches parents how to confidently educate their children on body safety, boundaries, and consent so that they can empower their kids to prevent abuse. I don't know about you, but that's some powerful push, okay? Like, this is a powerful job that she has given herself and a big responsibility, especially in the Latino community. So I want to warmly, warmly welcome you, Rosalia, and just say thank you on behalf of all of us for taking on such a huge, huge job. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Thank you for the intro. And yeah, I so agree with everything you said before that about making our own damn tables. But yeah, so I don't even know what you asked me, because I was like all motivated by what you said.
Well, tell us a little bit about, let's start from the very beginning. Tell me about a little bit about yourself and what made you decide to take on such a huge undertaking such as this. I mean, like, you're really trying to change a conversation that oftentimes feels very fixed.
Yeah. So I'm a consent educator and an abuse prevention specialist. I wasn't always that. In fact, that has been my official title for I think like 18 months now, where I finally was like, I'm just going to do this, because I didn't see it happening anywhere, and especially in the Latinx community, like you were saying. So originally I was in photography and marketing, and then I had this like aha moment at the beginning of 2019, and once I got these sort of confirmations from the universe that this was like the path, And then I had this one moment which kind of was like, okay, I have the key to how to get this message out there. And, I'm not very much of a person who's like, all right, I'm going to like give it a try. I'm like, I'm going to go in, like I will go in on whatever it is I do. But it was such a scary thing to talk about, because in comparison to like all the other things that I've done in my life, I could hide, and not be so visible. Mm-hmm. And so this was now like about being visible and about showing others how to be visible when it came to this particular topic that is so taboo, right? And so just the idea of like, okay, I have to be the front person for this, it was tremendously scary. And although I have the desire to do it and even the know-how of how to do it, I didn't feel like I had the courage, and I didn't feel like I had the guidance that was going to help me get to that like phase. Because part of it was that I thought, well, if I'm going to do this, like I want to make this a movement. Like I don't want this to just be like, I'm going to, teach some classes, or I'm going to like help some parents. Like I want to shift culture. And so I was looking for like, who can I, find to help guide me? Who else is doing it big that can point me in the right direction? Like, who is it that I I needed a mentor, a role model, a coach, and then I, came across you, and it was just this weird, the arrows like pointing from the universe left and right. And I'm so grateful that we connected, because you got me like right at the beginning of that journey. And it's just been such an incredible ride. Like I'm still pinching myself at times, even this weekend.
What do you want to tell us? I know you've had
so much
explosive success. I want to make sure we share all of it. Okay, so we're going to savor this little meal one bite at a time. I don't want to skip over anything. So tell us about this weekend.
Yeah, well, this weekend I started doing Instagram Reels about 2.5, 3 weeks ago, and I was so scared to do it because
so funny. We're really, especially the ones that are like role playing. I'm like, oh my god, this like your sense of humor is like so my sense of humor. I love it. Okay, keep going.
Well, and that's the thing is that I think I'm a closet comedian. Like I've never wanted to share that side of me publicly, because I didn't think I was funny. My brother, who is like the comedian of the family, was, when I was little, like he was always old. He's older. And when I was little, I would try to like tell jokes, and he would shut me down. And he was like, "You're not funny." And I think I like developed this complex. So to do these reels is like a huge deal for me. But I've started doing it because like you're always talking about showing up as your most authentic self, right?
Yes.
And that's what people are going to love about you. And that sounds so, beautiful and wonderful, quote on Instagram, but it's like to actually do it is scary AF, right? Mm-hmm. So I started doing these reels. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do them, because at the end of the day, this will help get my message across. And that's really my goal, right? So I started doing these reels, and they have taken off. Like I have one from like a week ago that's almost like 80,000 views. The one that I just did. God. So like all of them are taking off now. Like they're all like 60,000, 80,000.
Because they're hilarious. Let's commercial break. Rosalia, okay, this is how funny she is. She's a consent educator, and she is hilarious. Like she literally takes on like a mom role, like the mom role, and then the little kid role like this. But the way she does it is so funny. Here's the crazy thing is I learn a lot from your videos. Like sometimes it's nice just to see how someone would do it. And the reason why they're so fun to watch is because you're hilarious. Tell your brother to step aside.
I sent him the videos, and I'm like, check it out.
All right, keep going. So that's a lot. Congratulations.
Yeah, so all of these are taking off. Like I shared a video yesterday at 10 a.m. and it's already like at 15,000 views. Like, yeah, so that's great. And obviously that's like, you know, my follower count is going up, and that to me, you know, it's not even about ego. It's about like, oh my God, there's so many more parents that are now able to connect to this content. So, you know, just again, following.
Yeah. Well, hang on a second. So we just got a comment, and I don't know who you are, but you said, I love this. You can educate and make people laugh. What a gift. So if you make a comment, please just share your name, because the platform we're on doesn't tell me what your name is, unfortunately. But yeah, honestly, it's a gift to be able to talk about something so serious while you're making someone pee in their pants laughing. Like, that's why
Okay,
so many views.
I have to say though, like, so these reels are a product of two things. One is, I remember you giving me feedback a while ago. I'm like, this is such a heavy topic. Is there some way to make it more fun, in a sense, right? Like, it's hard to make this topic about, you know, child sexual abuse fun, but I try to come at it from empowering positions all the time. And I thought, you know, especially right now over the holidays, we've had such a hell of a year. Like, how can I deliver content to people that is palatable and makes them want to learn more, right? So again, your advice of like showing up authentically and, you know, finding ways to make it more engaging, right, are things that I take seriously. Like, I take your advice seriously because it has never steered me wrong, you know? And again, you know, so yeah, I that's one of the things that I've loved about being part of the Eñye Dream Accelerator community is, you know, your guidance and then getting the support. Like, I know that, you know, I get feedback inside the group, you know, we talk about these kinds of things in there, and like, what do you think about this? And this is what I've been doing. And it's just very synergistic energy, you know? So.
It is true. It is totally true. And so the comment was from my friend Suzette, who is actually our December faculty call guest. And so we might as well do a quick commercial interruption. Every single month, I bring on a fabulous Latina who has made a positive impression on my life. And sometimes I feel like people that have arrived or have made it, which is honestly like, that's like a fallacy, like, side note, but like, it might look like they've made it. And but really, we're all in the struggle together. And I hate to use the word struggle, but I think you guys know what I mean when I say that. We're always doing something, we're always ascending, right? And so because I have had the opportunity to be in a lot of different rooms, one of those rooms had me meet Suzette. And so I say I'm a collector of awesome Latina women. Like, I just have the coolest people in my life, including you, Rosalia. And Suzette is one of them. And she's coming on to be our faculty guest in December and to share all her goodness around boundary setting, which is kind of connected to consent, right? And so it's hard. It's hard to say no, right? But it's really important for our own sanity, especially if you're a mom, especially if you're a Latina mom. And so let's go back. So Suzette, thanks for being on with us, and thanks for your comments. So Rosalia, let's go back to, I know that I feel very fortunate to have been a part of your journey from the very beginning. It's seriously a huge honor, because I've always seen you as just the world's leading educator on consent. And so it's exciting to see that truth unfold right before our eyes. And tell me though, I know that you struggled a lot with being visible and with the topic and with so much about this. Tell me about the hardest parts about that, and what did you do to transcend that?
Yeah, well, so I just want to go backwards a little bit, because I had attempted in the past to do something related to this field. I think 5 years ago, no, sorry, it was longer than that, maybe 12 years ago. I had actually attempted to do a documentary film about women who had experienced sexual assault and how they overcame that. And I had been so triggered, and I had no support from anyone in terms of like how to go about. Like, I didn't look for that. You know, a lot of times I think, as the way that I was raised, it was like, just figure it out on your own. Don't ask for help. and don't share your failures either, right? So you're like stuck in this, I just got to do this on my own.
Right. No wonder why it didn't turn out.
Yeah, and so it was really triggering also. I hadn't done my own healing yet, all of these things. And so that was what was really scary about doing this again on my own. And I think I had learned that lesson enough to realize that I, needed the right support systems in place. And so when I started this, I wanted to make sure that this succeeded so badly that I was like, I'm willing to ask for help finally. And that was a huge thing, because my whole life, it was like, just do it on your own, figure it out. Don't ask people. Because if you're asking someone for help, that means you've failed somehow.
Right.
Or like, how did you not know that? I don't know. Like you grow up with some really crazy things,
Right. We do. We make up some crazy stuff. That's not true.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I think I finally decided I'm gonna do this, but I have to get the help, and I'm going to just push myself. And I remember one of our first calls that we had, you had said, like, what do you need in order to make this happen? And I was like, I need therapy. I remember saying that, really scared to say it publicly, but I can say it now in front of anyone, because I know that that's what has helped me, and so even just someone asking you the right questions, which you would never, like, you would think, oh, of course that's what I would have needed, like in retrospect. But if somebody didn't ask me that and help me self-reflect on that, like, I may not have realized that that's what I needed. And I would have, if it didn't succeed because I didn't get therapy, like, maybe I would have thought, oh, there I go failing again, which is such an easy pattern to fall into. So I realized through those questions and that guidance, like, okay, this is what I need to do. And I got all those things set up in place to be able to do it. And that's how I can keep doing this kind of work, because it can be really difficult, but I'm just grateful that it's being received so well, and that people are saying, like, yes, I needed this, and thank you for doing it. I don't even know if that was the question that you asked.
No, it is. And it's a great lead in, actually. And so, like, there's some, I'm going to say like, I feel like sometimes there's some of us that are charged with some really difficult tasks, like, to do with our lives. And sometimes we take it on and we go on the journey, and sometimes we don't. And, like, readiness is a really important thing. And part of readiness, though, I would say, is not listening to the lie that you're not good enough, right? Like, making sure that's like that, you got to be willing to say, okay, like, am I not doing this because I don't feel good enough? Because that's not acceptable to me, right? But, and there's also, like, okay, so if you're willing to kind of see that and still make the journey, like, what else might you need? Because there's some charges, there's some activities that some women in our group are taking on, including yourself, that are going to require a lot of support. And to know what you need is a very self-aware thing. And I remember that day when you said that, it really opened up, it normalized therapy and going to therapy in our group. And to this day, people feel very comfortable sharing that they're in therapy and they're in EDA. And I have no problem saying that if it weren't for thousands upon thousands and multiple fabulous therapists in my life, I'm not sure I'd be here today. So I'm also a big proponent of therapy as well. And believe, if you feel like you need it, that's what you should be getting. And there's a lot of stigma against it, but we're all about normalizing it and making sure it's okay. So, and going back to the support is a critical piece in this. And it's definitely what I think sometimes can be a linchpin, like, a great idea. Like, I share in EDA, a friend of mine shared a long time ago with me, that and $1 will buy you a cup of coffee. So, like, an insight and $1 will buy you a cup of coffee, right? And so what that means is that it doesn't mean anything, right? Like, guess what? You have a lot of insights all day, but if you don't take action on them, they will benefit 0 people. Now, I'm not meaning to go like this to anybody, but what I am saying is that, when we have these incredible moments of insight, I think that's like the divine like coming into your soul and kind of directing you, grabbing you by the shoulders and giving you a great idea. And if we don't have the support to guide us, like to help us and stand with us and walk with us through that idea, it may never happen, or you may never be the person that does it. If I had a dime for every single person that has told me, you know, I had the same idea to make a film, right? I mean, literally with all those dimes, I could make a whole nother film because that's how many dimes, that's how many people have said that. So EDA really offers a high level of support. And what is interesting, Rosalia, that I hear like a lot, which is so, I'm so used to so much love in our group and honestly hanging out with so many loving Latinas. But it is very real. People will say, you know, I was nervous to join a group of Latinas, you know, like because they can be. Do you know what I'm saying? Yes, I know, and I know it's not our group. I know it's not our group, but people say that. What do you think about that? What are your thoughts?
I think that's bananas. I mean, I've never, you know, I've been in many groups. I continue to be in other groups as well. And there's just not the same energy. And it's interesting because I've, you know, watching the film, right, really helped me to understand that I wasn't alone. Like I was so afraid. I remember like when I was 17 going to El Salvador and like having cousins make fun of me because my, you know, Spanish was bad and I was like called a gringa, and then feeling like I had to reject like family there and, you know, like all these things. And then seeing the film, I really was like, oh, it's safe to just be like, I felt safe again, which is a really interesting sort of realization that I had after watching the film. So when there was this like, oh, there's this like really awesome community, to me, I was like gravitating towards it. So I've never heard of anyone say that. And I think that if they do say it, like, you have, first of all, I think you have to trust your gut. You know, if your gut is saying this is where I feel like I want to be a part of something like this, you know, I always teach parents to teach their children to learn how to trust their gut. And I think that's part of what I think that's part of what's steering humanity so wrong, is that they don't listen to their inner voice and they're not paying attention to that intuition that is trying to guide them in the right direction. And I think over the course of the last year and a half, I have really tuned into that. And every time my little voice says like, that's the direction to go, even though I am scared as hell, I go there and it's always the right direction. Like there's always a confirmation that goes, okay, I made the right choice. So, you know, if you ever feel that it's like, oh, you know, Latinas, whatever, I don't know what the feeling is about us, but if there is this inner voice that's saying, but I want to give this a try, you know, listen to that inner voice because it's trying to guide you in the right direction.
Yeah, I agree. I always think it's funny when they say that. So let's dive into your work a little bit. Tell me, I mean, it's one thing to say, yeah, I want to teach parents how to teach their kids, but what is the structure of your business? How do you help people exactly?
Yeah, so, well, I have Consent Parenting, which is the actual business side of it that I offer courses and workshops, and also have a membership for parents who are survivors. So it's specific to parents who are survivors themselves and want to break cycles and are, you know, want to obviously protect their kids, empower their families. So that's the business aspect where, you know, I have members and people buying the workshops and things like that. And then I have my podcast, which is about consent. And I talk, again, it's for survivors and those who support survivors. So really it's a podcast that's meant to help shift the conversation about something that seems so taboo that we really need to be talking about more so we can break those cycles and reclaim our sexuality. I'm very big proponent of that as well. And so I had to kind of split them because one is like parenting and the other one is really like more about, you know, really healing and reclamation and, you know, like orgasm equality, you know, so there's those kinds of topics. And so there's a lot of crossover between those. And then I also have Consent Wear, which is in an apparel line that is for kids, teens, and adults to help create consent culture and also protect kids so that potential predators know this is an empowered family, like not a target. Let's cross them off the list, you know?
I love that.
Yeah. So that was, and I remember when I first came to you, I was like, I have this idea, and I didn't finalize it until just recently, where it, like, all of it is out now, all of it is available, and so yeah, that's what I do. So
yeah, so I just want to say, like, I remember when we did talk about it at first, and sometimes people have an idea, like, we'll just say, like, it's like the main idea, and then there's other ideas that might be supporting ideas. And I know you kind of came in like with all of those ideas, and sometimes people are like, how am I going to do all of this at the same time? And the thing is, the way I love food, I love cooking, I love food. The main idea, okay, for Rosalia is like the main dish. That is teaching parents who are survivors how to talk to their kids about consent. And then the side dishes, okay, those are, and all those, like the apparel, the podcast, those are all the side dishes. And then the dessert is her effing hilarious reels. I'm just going to call it dessert. That's just so funny. But let's go back. Why did you decide to focus on survivors?
Well, first, because I'm a survivor myself. And when I started doing this education as a parent, I got really triggered, and there were no support systems. There was nobody talking about it. It was like the missing piece, right? That, you know, my sister's also a survivor, and I know that her kids are older, and she really struggled with this, right? So when I first thought of doing something like this, it was really to help someone like her. And then I, you know, started teaching myself about it, and I realized how triggering it was. And I was like, okay, I get it. And there's nobody talking to this, you know, and no one of color. And, you know, I just read a statistic that 60% of all child sex trafficking survivors in the US are Black and Latinx girls. No. 60%.
Oh my God.
And yeah, and there's a pipeline of like child sexual abuse survivors and trafficking victims. There's a very clear pipeline. You know how there's like the school to prison pipeline? Well, there's like this pipeline. And so I thought, I want to also offer this in Spanish. I want to make it accessible. So that's been also part of my goal is, you know, that was one of the things that drove me to want to start doing this.
Whoa. And ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, this is why lots of support is needed, because this is extremely important. This is something that cannot be stepped over, and it's hard. And I too am a survivor and have let Rosalia, you know personally where I also have felt triggered. And it's interesting. My feedback a while back was make it fun. And it's funny, you can see how I gravitate towards your fun, because it can be really hard. Mm-hmm. It's a tough doorway into this conversation. And so I appreciate all the different ways you try to reach your community, including myself. And so Henry just passed me a note, so I'm just going to be real here and read it. Now let's talk about process. How is what you're doing today during the pandemic exactly what you thought was possible in person?
Even beyond, exceeds what you thought was possible in person. Wait, you know, like we're in a new.
But get in the frame so you can ask the question.
Did you get that? Like, how is it possible? Like, what you're doing today is exceeding your expectations of what was possible even in person, you know, because you're having to do so much online. I'm wondering. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I remember I was doing really well before the pandemic started, and it was still kind of, you know, you walk through this process of like, you're getting all these little wins and it feels great. And you think you're doing the right thing. And then the pandemic hit. And I remember like kind of wanting to hide in just, you know, saying, you know what, I'm going to put this on pause. Maybe I'm not the right person to be doing this right now. You know, I don't like just the idea of what was happening behind the scenes of like what this pandemic could do for the whole issue of child sexual abuse. Like, I just wanted to like go in a closet for, you know, however long. And I remember having the community in the group to talk to about this. I remember like one of our calls, like I couldn't even speak. Like I ended up breaking down and crying because it was like, I want to do something about this, but I don't even know, like I'm feeling paralyzed. And I remember feeling like supported in that moment to say like, we see you and we understand how hard this is. And, you know, and then there was instruction to like, how can I keep moving forward? What can I do to take care of myself at the same time? You know, I mean, this was like new territory for all of us, right? And even through that, like I felt like I had a safe place to talk and, you know, share. And like I remember having like gotten a negative comment by someone and like freaking out, and you're like, you know, welcome to visibility, you know, like this is part of it. And but that helped me so much because I remember thinking like, okay, you know, I have this mission and I want to keep doing it. And I think if I didn't have a place where I could share and talk and get help and advice and, you know, just even to like let it out, you know, I don't know that I would be here. Like, you know, and it's not to sound like I'm, you know, selling EDA, but it's just, it is so critical to have that support. So as I move through, you know, the interesting thing is that I feel like I was just creating like the foundations for this business, really, this impact that I'm making now, which is needed more than ever because unfortunately, because of this pandemic, the rates have gone up on every level as it relates to this problem. And being able to do something about it and having the support to know that, you know, there's people in the community that can help me, that if I feel like I have a question or an issue or a problem, like, you know, we have our monthly calls and I can, you know, ask questions, or I'm getting nourished by the training calls. And, you know, like just knowing all of that has been just helping me. It's like, I don't know where I should go next, or I don't know what I should do now, or I'm getting stuck in this place. And what I realized is like people, now that they have really discovered it, are clamoring. And it's like, hallelujah that I didn't give up on this. And through the hardest time that I didn't realize, you know, what the impact was going to be, because, you know, and like, I'm just gearing up. Like, I feel like I'm just revving up now, you know, and it's exciting because like I'm in the process of writing an op-ed piece for the New York Times that I think could potentially go viral.
Whoa.
And so, yeah. And so what's that?
Tell us more.
Well, so I'll tell you a tiny bit, because I don't want to give too much away, but you know, there's this huge issue, obviously, of child sexual abuse and pornography as it relates, and like online, you know, exploitation and all of these things that I think are finally coming to light, like how big of a problem this is. And no one is speaking directly to those who are causing this issue. And so my op-ed piece is actually a direct open letter to all pedophiles, on like a serious level, you know, and yeah, so
Henry, just so you guys know, I'm looking at Henry because Henry's snapping, and you are speaking Henry's language right now because he can't stand how everything is always so victim focused. He's like, why aren't we talking about the perpetrators? And that's what I'm hearing what you're saying. But whoa, that's powerful. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that in combination with this other video that I'm also in the process of creating, like, so part of the problem is like, I'm constantly coming up with ideas, and I have to like have an ideas book because I want to do them all now, you know. But this is where it's good, where like I go into EDA and, you know, we have our calls, and you'll say something like, okay, well, let's narrow down like what's the priority here, and like where can we focus so that it has the biggest impact, right? And, you know, I've told you before, like, you're always in my head. Like, I'll say, you know, I'll start talking about something, and I'll tell my husband, like, what about this and this and this and this? And he's like, all right, what did Denise say? I'm like, well, in my head, she's telling me this. And then I'll talk to you and you'll say something similar. And I'm like, all right, good. So, it's.
I got you.
Yeah. But it's a huge, important part of the process of what I'm thinking about doing and how to go about it. And, just even talking about it here, like I'm just energized. And I think that happens in our calls, month to month. Like I used to run a business, right? You know that I had a marketing agency and I had like 6 employees and it was actually quite successful. But I burnt out and it was unstructured and I had no real support. Like the community here, not to, be racial or at all, but like I'm the only like Latin person that I know where I live. Like there's maybe a really tiny community of like 30 people, but I don't really connect with them. They're not my age range. Like there's just not a lot of connection, unfortunately. And so I just felt really alone in running my business and trying to, make an impact. So knowing what that feels like and looks like and being where I am now, where it's like very supported is just night and day. Like, and it feels sustainable now.
Oh, that makes me so happy. I mean, I hope that everyone's getting this. And sometimes I just say this because if I had a highlighter and an underliner and a spotlight, I would be doing that right now. I mean, the work that Rosalia is doing in the world is more meaningful to our community because she's Latina, okay? Like, let that land. She is on the forefront of this work. And just like rest assured when she reaches the mountaintop and people like start, putting her face in what she says on memes and shares everywhere, it's going to make all of us feel warm and fuzzy because one of our own made it. And they made it in something that matters deeply. And so it's so important, the work that you're doing. And I know I'm talking about you, I don't know, in the third person or whatever, but I'm trying to make a point here. And that is, I'm just so proud of you. And I'm explosively excited for the work that you're doing, for the work that you've done, for what you have coming up. And I just love all of your ideas. I want to make sure that, everybody knows how can they get more information about your membership? How can people get more information?
Yeah, so you can go to consentparenting.com. And my membership will be opening in the spring, but you can get on the wait list if you're interested. And you can also tune into the podcast, which is at aboutconsent.com as well, to learn more about how to reclaim your own power.
Yes. So you have lots of resources too that are free. Like, what would you say is your favorite resource? Because I want to make sure we put a link in the comment section here so that everybody that wants to, if they're just getting started and they're like, I don't even know where to start, what free resource do you have for them to get started right now?
Well, so I have resources in Spanish also, just so you know. There's 2 resources that I recommend. So if you have Spanish speakers in your family and you don't feel like you can communicate things yourself, you can share those resources with them. But my favorite one is probably the abuse prevention book list, the library book list of that's the easiest way for parents to start conversations is using books. So I put together a book list that gives you, based on your child's age, like what are the best books to get and, be able to get these conversations started. So that seems to be a favorite as well. People really like that. And I've even matched a lot of the books that are in that list to reviews that I've done. So you can click on it and it'll take you to a review on Instagram. So you can read about it and decide if you want that book.
I mean, the goodness never stops with this woman. How organized. And I do also want to add that Rosalia also gifts her time to the members of the Eñye Dream Accelerator. In her past, she was a marketing expert, and she brings that expertise into her present and actually gives it away every week for 15 minutes. And they're like these powerhouse, 15-minute marketing calls. And then she also does a once a month marketing call for anyone. So if you have questions, she's helped people start Instagram accounts that have thousands of followers now. I actually just on the sales page called you an Instagram genius. I put # Instagram genius. this because she's not good. And Instagram is not her only expertise. She's got expertise in branding. I also wanted to highlight your consent wear apparel line. It's just beautiful. Like all of the branding is just beautiful. And so I want to make sure everyone checks that out. And so please, Rosalia, I'm going to invite you to put a link to all your stuff, just like your podcast, that book resource, and then also the apparel, because I think it's a great signal, a positive signal for kids to wear, especially when someone says consent. It means yay. I mean, not yay, like it means whoa, whatever, like not like this is safe, you know? Did you listen it or no? Oh, okay.
I was going to just say that the weekly marketing call in the Facebook group is actually an hour. So you get an hour every week. Yeah.
All right. Well, an hour. Holy smokes. I did not know that. And
well, we get into it. Like it's actually really fun for me because I get to connect with a lot of the women and help them and like see what they're up to and give them ideas. I just love being able to give because I receive so much in the group. So it's just a joy to like it feels like we're having coffee and talking about marketing at the same time. Like it doesn't feel like work at all or anything, you know? So
well, it's such a gift that you do that. And one time I told Rosalia I was folding laundry and I wanted to pass the time. And so I put on her marketing call and I literally was responding and laughing. And my husband came into the room. He's like, who are you talking to? I'm like, I'm just listening to Rosalia's marketing class. It's awesome. I love it. And it's awesome. I mean, everything about EDA is awesome because of the amazing women in it, just like you. So thank you so much for your time. This has been great. I could do this forever, and I'm just so proud of you. I hope everyone here has gotten a taste of who you are as a person, and also the amazing impact of your work, and your sense of humor, which your family, your brother's just going to have to step aside. So,
thank you so much.
So, all right, great. If you want all the resources, she'll post them below, and then stay tuned for other members of the Eñye Dream Accelerator that we will be featuring all week. The doors open tomorrow. There is a special offer if you are on the waiting list right now. So I would suggest getting on the wait list right now. You're going to receive at least one email by the end of the day with a special offer from me. And it's only until midnight Pacific Standard Time tonight. And so that is a strategy call, a free strategy call with me. Did you want to say something?
Well, I was just going to say that's how I joined. I remember I got on the wait list because I wanted that bonus. So if you are interested, if that voice is in your head, like, you know, just curious even, I would say at least get on the wait list because, you know, if you do get the bonus, it's a real treat to do the one-on-one call with you and just to like, you know, is this the right thing, you know, and get that confirmation. So
awesome. Well, thank you very much for that. I do actually remember that first call with you, and it's been upwards ever since. So thanks, Rosalia. Thank you, everybody that watched, and we appreciate everyone's time today. And we will see you back here tomorrow for even more amazing chicas from the Eñye Dream Accelerator. Mwah. Take care.